Hey, you guys. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've made a long form video. I want to get back into the groove of making content. And no, this is not a video about my betta fish, even though the camera is focused on the fish. Been there and done that. I've had my face in a zillion videos on my channel. And for right now, we're going to do it this way. We're going to just focus on different things and I think it kind of makes it easier. It gives one a little bit more freedom and autonomy, to just express from their soul, when people aren't as focused on their face, what they're wearing, what they're looking like. And there's no pressure here with my videos. This is really just a warm up to get me kind of back in the groove. The last 2 or 3 years have really been hell on me. I've had to go through a lot of changes, and really just sort out almost like a midlife crisis type situation. I'll be 50 next summer, and really just sort out, what direction do I want to go? What do I want to do? Do I even want to mess with my YouTube anymore? Social media has kind of gotten crazy. And so ideally, here on my YouTube channel, I don't have a niche. I do what I want. I make videos about all kinds of different things, whatever strikes my fancy or moves or inspires me. A great deal of it is about my personal life. There's quite a bit of that I've shared. And, there are videos about other people that I either admire or have been moved by or felt compelled to speak on. And even within some of those videos about others, my soul is still coming out in some way because the channel overall is for me. It's my project. It's about me, But oftentimes I will use other things as a catalyst. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It was never meant to be, specifically whatever videos got the most views, say when I covered the Watts case or spoke about Shanann Watts or certain videos about Gia Karanji or whatever, what have you. It was never meant to be a channel devoted strictly to them or about that. It just so happened at that time, that's where my energy was. And those things were a catalyst for me. Came into my life, like the Watts case, for instance, came into my life at a time where I was going through something in my own relationship. And that case coming into my life and connecting with the energy of Shanann Watts, it took me down such a rabbit hole of knowledge. I mean, I grew tremendously, in all kinds of different ways just by studying that case and where that led and then where that led and the next branch and the next branch. And I was able to look at some things in my own life that I was going through and also purge a lot of my rage and anger and sorrow from a lot of the trauma I had endured. And the Watts case was a catalyst for that. Basically, what happens is you see something, it comes into your life, it connects to your energy, it speaks to your deeper soul. Some people call it getting triggered. Perhaps that happened too. It triggered something within me, something that, I could really relate to, resonate with her as a woman, the children, and their father, and the abuse and the violence that occurred, and just tragic all the way around. There's so many dynamics and elements to that case. But anyway, what I'm saying is a lot of times on my channel, I will find a subject that I'm inspired by or a person, and I will make a video about them, but at the same time, bits and pieces of my own soul. It is a catalyst for my own soul to express itself as well. And, some people have come through and gotten that twisted, like, oh, well, this isn't about you, or don't project your relationship onto this, or don't project your life onto that. Listen, this is my channel. So it's always going to be about me. Okay? It's my project. It's my outlet. so that I can move energy from myself. I can express things. I can share with the world. I've got to have that in my life. I've always had to have that since I was a child. You know, of course, back then, pre-internet, we did it in different ways, but you get what I'm saying. So no pressure. Sometimes I just like to cut the camera on and let it rip. You know, that's what's best for me. I don't like scripted. It's hard to keep up with that YouTube algorithm. That is not, you know, that's not when you really think about things. And I'm not saying it's not okay if that's what you do. If you've made it your employment, you've made it a job, you create specifically for YouTube, for an audience, you've built a community, you cater to that community, you know, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. What a great way to make money. Hey, more power to it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But then I see other people on YouTube who literally just jump through loopholes all the time, willing to sell their soul, make any old, you know, shallow, crappy, whatever, that they're not really passionate about, do any type of performance, you know, constantly jumping through hoops for the audience. Oh, did I say something wrong? Oh, you know, there's a lot to worry about on YouTube. Oh, will the advertisers like it? And oh, will my audience like it? And, you know, there are some people that have genuinely built a community of people that they talk with consistently. They all resonate with each other. It's genuine, and that's great. You know, I have not done that yet. I have had some great people come through and leave comments that were uplifting and encouraging, and I very much appreciated that. But for me personally, it's like this. Who doesn't want to make money off something they create in this life? You know, ideally, we all do. Most people realistically just have to shuffle off to work every day to earn a living at a job they don't particularly love. They don't particularly feel connected to it in their soul. That's a privilege, honestly, if people get to do that. But it's always in the back of our minds for most of us that, especially as we get older, that we would like to find a way to earn money in a way that doesn't overwhelm our body because we get old and tired and start hurting, and in a way that fulfills our soul. We definitely keep that in our mind as a goal, you know, to make some passive income, to make some easier income as we get older. And particularly high on my list is something that is fulfilling to my soul, something that also contributes somehow value to humanity in some way. You know, that's great. So I think about those things, you know, when it comes to the videos I make and my channel. And, you know, I'm human. I've tried just about everything. You know, I've been there and done that. I've had my face in my videos, and I've jumped on trends, and I've done this and that. And I've, you know, learned about, SEO and YouTube algorithm and how to do the titles and the hashtags and, you know, what kind of content to make. You know, especially being poor in the past and desperate for money, I got in situations where, damn, you know, wouldn't it be nice if some of my videos would just pick up? Okay, but it didn't happen that way. You know, there for a while when I was doing the Watts case, that's how I got the majority of subscribers. My channel really boosted up. But what can I say? Right when things were picking up, my life took a turn. And I had to drop off for a while. Couldn't really stay, you know, on that timeline, that particular wavelength. Although I wanted to. I never intended to take a break. I never intended to fall off and be inconsistent with my videos. Never intended that. But shit happens, doesn't it? You know? But anyway, back on target here. This is just a little warm up, a little update, just to say hello to everybody. I'm still here. And definitely wanting to get back on and create some consistent content, just some conversations, just some sharing certain topics, but no pressure. You know, it's always been hard for me to conform to, you know, it's not that I appreciate people if they come through and leave comments. I very much appreciate encouragement. But, you know, if you land on my stuff and it bores you, it's not interesting, it's not entertaining enough or moving fast enough, well, tough. You know, I totally understand that, and keep right on going. You don't have to say something nasty. You don't have to, you know, drop your sarcasm for brownie points or be a troll. People just feel like they just have to do that. Oh God, the video doesn't even start until 5.23. Just thought I'd say that. You know, what is that shit? So the way I look at it, trolls, the only thing they're really good for is they keep the algorithm going. You know, they pop into your shit and leave comments that are hateful or sarcastic, or they fight with themselves, or they think they're embarrassing or humiliating or stopping you from doing something. That's all that energy is out there for. But really, all they're doing is helping you with the algorithm, making sure your video gets seen by more people by dropping you that shitty ass comment that they stopped and left, you know? But, hey, little buddy, what you doing there? Come on, buddy. What are you doing? Are you asleep? Fishy. My fish is being weird, y'all. Come on, Fishy. Oh, you must have been tired. I was like, what? I got worried for a second. Whew, I've been through hell with this fish too, but this is not a video about my fish. But I do have some. I have plenty of footage of him, and I will make some videos about betta fish. I've had him about 4 months now, and I would like to put together a video about all I have learned about fish keeping this far. And honey, when I tell you, I have been through it with this fish. Oh, we're good now. We're good now. He's beautiful, healthy. But he got sick. Oh, he did. And he almost died. And I had to learn all kinds of things about betta fish medications, bacterial infections. Honey, when I tell you, I fought for this fish's life, and we went through it for about a month of treatments and saltwater baths, and yeah, we went through it. But that'll be another video, another day. This is Turk. He's beautiful. He was given to me by my sister. Someone gave him to her, and she had to move. So I inherited him. And he's my buddy. I adore this little soul, this little fishy soul. I did have a couple of Nereid snails in there with him, but I moved them into their own little container. And one of them didn't make it. One of them passed. I had them for several months too. So I have the one Nereid snail left. But anyway, I just thought this was something nice to kind of focus on while I talked a minute. And I just wanted to pop on and, I don't know, just kind of get warmed up and check back in with you guys, any of you that are still here or still watch my videos, and just chit chat. That's really the way I like to do it. You know, it's been hard for me to conform to any rigid method. Not that that's not okay for people who can, for people who do it. Again, we would all love to, you know, have a job like that and make some money off something that we feel fulfilled with and that we created. But to me, that's a byproduct. To me, that would be a bonus. It's not something I'm going to just completely be able to conform myself and sell my soul for. I can't do that. You know, because for me, using my voice, ever since I was a child, whether it's singing, writing poetry, creating something, artwork, sharing parts of my soul, my life experience. To me, that comes from soul, and it's something that is a passion. It never goes away. It don't matter how long, if I get depressed or uninspired or caught up in life and can't make content or can't do anything creative, it still never goes away. It is a part of my life. It's like my lifeblood, my life force. it kept me alive when I was a kid. It's kept me alive pretty much all my life. To me, being creative in some way, shape, or form and personal expression is like life and death. It's a necessity. And when I'm not doing it, it's always nagging at me. I feel like a part of me isn't there or something isn't right. Just kind of shuffling through life, the monotony of day to day. And don't get me wrong, I am very much connected to my physical life and reality and my pets and, my family and friends and, very much in the moment with what I'm doing in physical life and reality and appreciative of that. But you get what I'm saying. At the same time, there is that other part of me that, for many reasons, due to from the way I grew up, so much trauma and bad programming and, anxiety disorder and just certain things because of that. And just the way I was born. I came into this world that way, where there is that part of me that needs to create. That is, feels very empty if I'm not creating something, sharing something, expressing, moving energy. And I'm very passionate about that. So, yeah, my videos are kind of all over the place. And I just look at it like that's always what's worked best for me in this world. You do what comes from soul, what you really, truly, and authentically feel aligned with. That's your message. That's what you're going to do. And if something comes of that in the means of finances, the universe aligns it that way, or it fucking takes off, then you'll know that you did that shit from your honest, most authentic part of your soul that is a passion that won't go away, and that's just a bonus. Like if it pans out like that, and that's kind of how I look at it, because it's just a setup any other way. And I've been there. I've set myself up before for failure, for sorrow, despair, feeling like hell. Oh, my video didn't get this views. And oh, nobody likes this. And oh, I put so much work into this and nobody likes that. And I've never been that kind of person. I don't do it for popularity, for attention, for likes, for outside feedback. I don't need people's, if it were up to me, they could totally do away with the public's ability to comment on our creations, and I wouldn't care. You know what I'm saying? I've thought about that very deeply. I have never, ever since the first social media, MySpace, and going to the studio and making music and posting songs on MySpace and posting photography and photos and pictures and writing and any form of expression. I never did it because I gave a shit about what anybody was going to say. I didn't want them to say anything, really. I just wanted to post my shit and move the energy from me, you see? That's what people have a hard time understanding. So many people are just fixated on, oh, they just want attention, and oh, they just want money, and oh, because there's a lot of shallow, superficial-ass people. True. But there are also a lot of us who are just fucking human. That's just a part of being human, wanting money, survival, recognition for something well done, or to be a part, to feel like your soul is doing something that's contributing, that's of value. So I guess a certain amount of social validation is nice, but I had to train myself to not be dependent on that kind of shit. Do not let that be the only motive that you have for doing something, because it is a sure setup for failure, for emotional failure, for pain and devastation. And, and I guess I had to train myself that way because the way I grew up, I wasn't going to get that shit from my parents. And so I had to learn to give that kind of thing to myself, my own validation and my own. So, and I'm not judging either way. Whatever people do with their content and their channels, that's on them. That's fine. Whatever works, for them. I'm just saying for me personally, I had to really sit down and analyze and think about, self-examine. Okay, what are your motives? What is genuine? What feels energetically aligned to you, you know, that you want to do, that you want to talk about, that you want to say. Um, Scripting is not for me. It's not really about performance or, oh, what can I do for y'all next? What hoops can I jump through for y'all? What do y'all want to see next time? And that's okay for people who are close to their audience and they've really built those relationships. That's fine. But, for me personally, I'd rather stay true to what's in my soul, what I want to do, what I want to say, what I want to convey and put out there and share with the world. And hey, if people come by and they say, hey, I really like that, or I got something from that, or YouTube pays me, or it, picks up, hey, then that's going to be a blessing. I'm going to leave that part in the hands of the universe. Right now, what I'm trying to get back in the groove of is listening to my intuition and trusting it and following that nagging ass feeling that will not stop. That is how you know what is your purpose and your calling or part of it. And if I ignore that shit, I am miserable. It won't stop until it nags me to death. And you can just feel it in your soul, man, when you're on track and you're doing what's a part of your highest potential timeline or a part of your soul calling. If it comes freely and naturally to you, just as plain as I'm sitting here talking, if it nags at you to get back on and do it, and you're not really happy with anything else until you do it, listen to that. Those things can guide you. So that's pretty much what it is for me. I've always been better at just cut the camera on, start talking about a certain topic, and let it rip. And it's kind of like blacking out. I mean, it just comes. It just flows from soul, kind of like a freestyle, kind of like channeling. Kind of like channeling from spirit in a way. We just go. But I get it. People want to go to YouTube and they want to look for specific things. What am I in the mood to watch or hear? And yeah, they want to know from the title, what am I going to be hearing? Is this what I'm in the mood for? I didn't know I was getting into just somebody's rambling rambles. I totally get that, That kind of thing doesn't sell. It doesn't do well on the algorithm. But this is for me. This is my way of warming up again and touching base and getting back in the groove. And there will be more videos to come. I have a lot of different stuff on my channel. I feel like I'm just now starting to get some energy and inspiration back. And I do have a lot to share. It's just been a really difficult past 2 or 3 years and trying to process and organize, all that stuff. I'm coming up on 50 next summer. And Tan, you've lived almost 50 years. Okay? You got some experience behind you. You got a lot in your head. And that shit needs processing. And typically, people of that age will have some wisdom to share, some insight. And I do, but I'm just trying to get to a point where, I've got that flow state, I like to call it, where it's just coming naturally. And I've had some obstacles in my way for a while. But no, it was never my intent to just fall off the map as long as I did. And, so that's the basic gist. My channel has, and I would probably fare better with the algorithm and money if I would pick one niche and stick with it. Sure, that people could count on that and do it consistently. Absolutely. But, it is what it is. I have to be true to myself. And again, a lot of people out there don't really understand that I can't be the only person who uses their social media, their channel, for self-expression. That is the main priority, whether they're getting paid or not. Rain or shine, been doing it over 15 years. I've had the YouTube channel 5 years. I've been on Facebook going on 16 years. That there are people who, long before there were partner programs, advertising money, TikTok, make money off this, that, and the other. Everybody becomes a content creator, a performer, an artist, a speaker. Everybody's selling a fucking coaching program, a spiritual program. Everybody's selling something, doing something. Long before all of this, there are people that are highly expressive beings, creative, artistic beings, and we've been doing it long before there was even an internet. Okay? And then when internet did hit and social media hit, there was no such thing as money. No such thing as ads. We were just posting our shit. Our pictures, our music, coming out of the studio and learning to convert shit to MP3 and mixing music on our music programs at home. Homemade shit like you see on Hustle and Flow. Fucking putting up curtains and putting milk crates on the wall and trying to soundproof everything and learning how to run the mics up through the computer system so we could record and all of that shit. That was our survival. It had nothing to do. We didn't know any shit about internet. We didn't know anything about social media and all these easy editing programs and apps. And, I'm just saying, a lot of people don't realize that there are people that it's in their blood, it's in their soul. It's like not only a survival mechanism from so much trauma, that's what they turn to survive, and an outlet, but it was born in their soul. It's a spiritual thing. Their connection to source. They create. They will always be doing something expressive, creative, expressing soul, putting it out there, trying to raise collective frequency, inspire others, whatever, what have you. If money comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. If people like it, they do. They don't, they don't. But rain or shine, creators, real creators will create regardless. No matter how long they fall down, no matter how long they go through creative blocks or depression, real creators will create. And we all have creative life force, we all do. It's just about what we do with it. But, that's pretty much where my energy has always been coming from. I've tried fads here and there, and I've jumped on trends, and I've done what everybody else has done. But, when it comes down to it, I'm just doing me, expressing things from my soul, things that I want to talk about or create, and not really willing to jump through hoops for anybody, to perform for anybody, be fake for anybody. I get it. When big dollars come into the picture and people are offered a lot of money, hey, that's great. But y'all get what I'm saying. So therefore, I just want to be chill, relaxed, no pressure. Just move some energy off my chest, and it really helps me. It gives me that outlet again that I have missed for almost 3 years now. I have not been able to consistently create and move that energy like I used to. A lot of my videos used to be really angry. Man, it was a huge purging outlet for me in a lot of those videos. But I'm going to find my way back again. But if something is truly authentic for your soul, you don't give up on it. And that's not to say you don't take breaks. That's not to say you don't fall off in an uninspired black hole for 6 months or a year, or You have other responsibilities that take over, or that's not to say you don't stop for a while. That happens to all of us. Writer's block and fucking depression and, just lack of inspiration, especially if you're going through major changes in your life, spiritual type transformations, energetic transformations. Oh boy, don't even get me started. That's a whole other video, And there's another thing. You can't even use words these days. It's like, in order to even speak, make videos, do anything, you have to completely block out everything in the social climate, everything people are saying. That's another video I'm going to make, how I personally feel like it's energetic warfare right now. And as low vibrational as they can keep everybody, that's where they want to keep everybody. It's this energetic warfare, I feel like. Some people call it spiritual warfare, whatever. Keeping people, afraid to say that word. Well, I can't say this word. Well, they'll take that out of context. Well, they think it means this. Well, and before you know it, you're exhausted, you're anxious, you're afraid, you're fucking uninspired, all your inspiration's blown, all your motivation's gone, and you're back down in low vibrational frequency. That's that shit in this world. That energy is out there. It's everywhere. That's what trolls do. They're like disciples of low vibrational frequency and keeping you there, making sure you feel uninspired, making sure you feel low self-esteem, insecure, afraid to go online, afraid to post your creations, afraid to put your message out, afraid, fear, anxiety, self-consciousness, awkwardness, yada, yada, yada. That's all low vibrational as fuck. And, it's out there. So, but especially if you are going through, the reason I said all that is because, the word spiritual, it to me, it's gotten to where, because my consciousness level has developed so much more over the last few years, that it's almost become a limited construct, even using that word. They're all just words anyway. Just words that humans have made up to try and assign meaning to everything, because we have to do that. But some things aren't meant to be completely defined. They are too massive, too expansive for the human brain to even wrap around all the way. You know what I mean? And so we humans struggle sometimes to try and define these massive concepts and experiences. And that can be difficult. But even the word spiritual, everything feels like such a limited concept these days. Because what people do is they hear it and they take it and run with it, or take it out of context, or anything that confines my energy. I can't stand it. I can feel that on my energy, literally feel it. Things that are confining, restrictive, limited, narrow, controlling. Now, don't get me wrong. In certain contexts, of course, we need limitations and boundaries, of course. But you get what I'm saying. For me, it's about expanding my consciousness. That's what I'm here doing. I like to learn, acquire knowledge, explore infinite possibilities, infinite theories, thoughts, even if they sound far-fetched or out there. I love that kind of stuff, But at the same time, I like to keep the balance, the equilibrium, balance it out with logic and reason, critical thinking, and, everything has its place. You get it. But these days, I know it's energetic warfare. It really is. Because if you pay too much attention, that's why it's gotten so serious that I even have to put limitations on myself. I've been on social media over 15 years, and I've always used it as a source of art, music, inspiration, expression, moving energy. I'm always on there working. I don't have time to sit there and chit chat or really pay attention to who's arguing with who. I've always been on there working, photography, art, whatever, writing, expressing. And some of it might be dark, some of it might be light and inspiring. But in general, all of it's inspiring, because even if you're expressing your darkness, you are showing others that there are tools for doing that. There are tools for confronting and accepting your authentic self, expressing those things through painting, art, music, writing, drawing, photography, building, making food, whatever, caring for your gardens, your pets, whatever you're doing, your family. You're showing people that there are tools, that you don't necessarily have to hide having a tormented side or a dark side or depression or anxiety, or you don't have to be ashamed or walk on eggshells. It shows people that there are outlets for that. Expressing those things are not necessarily about influencing others as much as it's about expressing it and moving that energy from yourself so that it doesn't rot there, so that it doesn't make you sick, hold you bound to that lower vibrational frequency, whatever that anger, pain, sorrow, grief, whatever that is that you're moving, if it's a darker type of expression. See, that's where a lot of people get tripped up too. They think it's, oh, that's a bad influence, and oh, that's so dark, and that is so sad, that's so angry, that's going to influence the kids, or that's going to influence people, and, why don't you put out something positive? To me, if you are using artistic tools or some kind of outlet other than going out and acting those things out physically on people, or denying yourself, pretending that you don't have those issues, stuffing it down until it comes vomiting out of you in some self-destructive way later. To me, if you are actually making a move to confront those types of feelings and issues within by using some type of tool, outlet, creativity, exercise, therapy, writing in a journal, creative expression, if you're using a tool, to me, that is inspired. That is the inspiration. That is the message, is that you're accepting yourself, self-examining, looking at all of the authentic facets of your personality, not denying any of it, working through those things, moving that energy out there into the collective, and then the collective consciousness, they can do what they want with it. It's not for you. Like, I've never blamed the artist for what people do. Never. It is not for you to worry about that. Okay? Now, to a degree, of course, I feel like we as humans have a responsibility for what we put out, what we say, how we make others feel. Especially if we have a huge platform, people like the president and big time artists, whatever, what have you. And a lot of times I have mixed feelings about shit because I'm just a multi-dimensional motherfucker. That's part of this human experience. But ultimately, I feel like those artistic people, those creators, those musicians, those actors, those performers, whatever they're doing, in context, writing an album, performing in a film, acting those things out in a certain context, using certain tools to express those things, that is inspired, that is healthy, and it is not their responsibility to hinder the creative life force within them and the creative flow that is helping them express all that was holding them bound. Whereas if they didn't have that, they might just be laying in the bed somewhere, deathly depressed, or go out and do something even worse. Okay? It is technically, to me, it is up to the parents at home. When people start talking about, well, that influences kids, and they write about death on their album, and they sing about darkness, and they act out all these scenes of violence and da-da-da-da. Oftentimes, that is the creative and artistic person's way of surviving very traumatic things that they have seen. They need to move that from their energy field. And they do not want repeat. They don't want to go out and repeat that. They don't want to hurt anyone. And people get it all fucked up and misconstrued in society. They always have. Well, that's a terrible influence. I wonder what, they must be awful people, or they must, nah. But this is a little bit different perspective on that, okay? Oftentimes, that is their way of emotionally surviving, to be able to move that energy, and they are working through a lot of that old trauma or those processes by recreating it through the art and music and film and whatever, what have you. It is very healthy and instrumental in helping them heal, okay? So, but I do believe one should definitely be mindful, especially if they have a huge platform, huge notoriety. They should certainly be mindful when they get out of context, off the record, out of the studio, off the stage, out of the film, whatever, and they are addressing society in an interview, or, you know, I'm not one for people to mince creative flow at all, and censorship. I believe in education of children and guiding them. We'll get into that in a minute, but, you know, I do feel that one should definitely be mindful of what they are putting out there. Is it just complete and total fucking hatred? Is it just complete and total, you know, there's never anything good or showing compassion or encouraging compassion or acceptance, tolerance, you know, love, empathy? Do they not ever have a drop of that? Or, you know, are they just really going overboard to the point where that's all the energy they're ever putting out into the collective and into humanity is hatred, division, inciting other people to you know, that me personally, I can't do that. I don't have a huge platform and I'm nobody, but me personally, I have to keep the fucking balance, because the balance is really what's true to me. It's really what's authentic to me. It's really what I feel. I feel both, you know, good and bad sometimes. But I would not want the only thing I ever put out is darkness, depression, despair, lack of gratitude, lack of appreciation, whatever, hatred, envy, spite, resentment, rage. I would not want it to stop there. Like, that's all I ever post. It's just, I could never do that. I could never confine myself to that, because it's just not me. I've got, you know, too many other things, that the other end of the spectrum, that I'm completely grateful for and have so much empathy, compassion, love, you know, insight, joy. And so I keep that balance. Now, I've never denied that I am quite a tormented soul. It's just a part of my package. I always have been. It's the way I grew up. It's the way I was wired. I've had to go through a lot of shit in my life. But ultimately, I've been able to transmute a lot of that. And people say, well, what's that word? Here we go with words again, right? You know, they want to take that word and screw it around all over the place. And, well, what does that mean? Is that some magic potion? Or, you know, people really just, oh, Lord. Transmute. That's another video I want to make, and I want to discuss what transmuting really is. But to put it in very, very simple terms, a lot of times in spiritual communities, people use words. Words are trendy. Words come and go, catchphrases, and this, that, and the other. And tomorrow it'll be called something different. But, you know, some of these folks, it's like, get a grip. Try to figure it out. Try to, when you run across a concept or anything in life, try to take it to the highest level of wisdom you can and use it from there. Try to think of it in that light. You know, it's like, damn, come on. Transmutation, transmuting. What I meant in that context is I've been able to transmute a lot of the trauma and the shit I was surrounded by growing up and throughout my life. I don't know. I was just born that way with that drive. And I did have quite a bit of therapy growing up, but it was always a very strong drive within me, a strong determination to, I was a determined little thing to overcome. I was very defiant about all that was happening to me. And, you know, as I got older and wiser and understood more, you know, it was very important to me to unwire all that shit and unlearn a lot of it. And it's taken half of a lifetime. I mean, hopefully I've got many more years to go, but it's taken a lot of years of dedication and work. But transmuting, converting, to put it very simply, you take what the fuck happens to you and you turn it into something else. And no, we're not going to gaslight. We're not going to manipulate. We're not going to twist the fuck out of it. We're going to get right down to brass tacks. No, it does not mean being delusional. It does not mean spiritual bypassing or bypassing of any kind. It does not mean avoiding the hard mental and emotional work you have to do. It doesn't mean a cop-out. It doesn't mean numbing or escaping into fantasy. It doesn't mean any of that shit. Check. Nope. It means doing the actual work. It means taking a look at everything that needs to be addressed and processed and handled and worked through and doing all of that work. And then taking what the fuck is handed to you, not in some delusional, shallow, or checked out way, but it means authentically taking what has been handed to you. The trauma, the negativity, the brutality, the treatment, the betrayal, whatever the fuck is handed to you, and being determined to take that shit and flip it. But it requires, you cannot transmute. You don't even need to worry about what does transmuting mean. You don't even need to worry about that if you plan to skip the steps. If you plan to take shortcuts, be lazy, not invested in your own self-development, just always looking for the quickest, easiest route to feel better, numb, then don't even worry. You don't need to know. You're not going to be able to transmute anything authentically. Skipping ahead does not work. Pretending doesn't work. And I can always tell the energy of a person who has skipped ahead, who is in a big-ass hurry to just feel better quick and skipped over all of their inner work and their inner demons, and they've not done the brutal, horrible shadow work that has to be done, whether that's spiritually, in therapy, or all of it together, psychologically. But converting, it means after you've truly and authentically done the work, it means you take that tragedy, that trauma, all that bitterness and resentment and all those lower vibrational energies that are bound to you. After you've truly done the work, now, you got to feel that shit. You cannot skip ahead. And sometimes that shit takes a long time. It could take weeks, months, even years with just one feeling. Truly feeling it, acknowledging it, processing it. But it means to take that after that point, take the fucking bad that's been handed to you and turn it to something good. Turn it to a whole entirely different perspective. Turn it into something gold. Transmute it. Some people discuss spiritual alchemy, alchemizing it. It just means that you convert it, you turn it, you switch the perspective. You rewire your brain. And you make something useful and productive come from it. Or even something great, something good for the world, something compassionate, useful, resourceful, whatever. That's, in its simplest terms, transmuting. Little buddy, are you just laying up there? What in the world is my fish doing now? Fiji! Turkey fish, what are you doing? Are you tired, baby? Well, I'm going to cut this one off. It's getting pretty long. But I've got a lot more where this came from. I'm just getting back started. And I'm ready to get consistent with it again and get some more videos up for you guys. And that, like they've always been, they'll probably be all over the map. I know people are loving Gia Karanji. I love her too. Beautiful, beautiful. Tragic story though. And I'd like to do more work as far as she's concerned. Not just the picture slideshows, but talking more in depth about her life. Selena Quintanilla, I know people are fond of her, so am I. And more on Shanann Watts. That case is just so massive. You can't cover it all in one whack. It's just, and there's only certain elements of it that I want to deal with. And a lot of times, man, I still get confused about which direction I want to take things with my videos. A part of me feels like I've, at almost 50, moved on, from a lot of the anger, the rage, and the angst of my younger years, and talking about trauma and narcissistic abuse and coercive control and, all those psychological things. A part of me is like, man, I have moved so far beyond all of that, and I'm so tired of it. And, my family's been through such hell. I just really want to be happy and joyous. And I want to move on into a higher consciousness and enjoy the new frequency I'm on. And after coming through so much of that hell, and I want to discuss, the things I really love discussing, like quantum shit and, higher consciousness, spiritual topics, and, shit like Bashar and Dolores Cannon and Pete Sapper, RJ Spina. I could name a zillion of them. Alan Watts, Robert Monroe. Oh man, that's where I'm at. That's the kind of shit I like and understand. That's really, and I intend to go there. Out of body experiences and energy, vibrational frequency, and so many things I want to get back into. So, but it is what it is. I got to start somewhere. Get warmed up again. Hi, buddy. Look at him flaring that head, y'all. Look at that. I call him Hammerhead when he does that. He's flaring at me. He's excited. He gets the zoomies every day about this time, y'all. Usually this is the time of day I'm coming in from work, but today's Sunday, and I'll come in talking in a really high-pitched voice, like looking for my dog, like, hey, baby! I'll be really loud, and my fish will hear it. He literally hears my voice coming through the room, and he starts getting the zoomies every day. He gets super excited. Look at that. Except I wasn't being loud. I don't know what he's getting the zoomies for now, but he is just a mess, y'all. Yeah, he flares sometimes. I don't do that to him too much, like with the mirror or objects. They say, it's good to flare them every now and then, just so they can pump up their adrenaline and their ego instead of just sitting in that tank bored all day and Because out in the wild, they would be used to having to defend themselves, and they would be used to a little bit of stress from other fish and other males and whatever. And so I understand the logic that it may be good to do that occasionally, get them to flare themselves up like they would in the wild, but it's not good to do it all the time for too long. It stresses them out. So, but I don't believe when people say, no, don't ever do that. Bullshit. I get it. Totally get it. That's what they would be doing in the wild. And if they sit too long in a damn tank with no distractions, no excitement, no other fish, just nothing to do, bored, they can get sick. They can get really depressed and lethargic. And so it is good to flare them every now and then if they don't naturally just do it. Like my fish will flare up when he sees my finger when I get home from work. He flares his head up real big and starts zooming around. I have a little red ball that I sometimes, play with him and on, see, there he goes. There he goes. Oh boy. Oh boy. Look at that. You're a biggin. I know you're big and mean. You're showing me. Only on rare occasions I get out a little mirror and I let him see himself. But he really, really gets excited then, y'all. I mean, he gets aggressive as hell. I get scared for him, so I have to put it away. So I don't do that very often. But anyway, well, I think that's enough for this video. I've gotten a few things off my chest and basically just, update, catch up, talk a bit about, what I'm doing here on this channel, what it means to me, and move a little bit of energy. Buddy, he's so cool to watch. But I'll pick this up in the next one, you guys. And thanks for stopping in and listening if you did. And again, most of my videos, they get long. It's typically going to be for people that like to put on a longer podcast type thing and listen while they work. They don't want to have to keep changing and looking for a new video. A lot of people like the longer stuff. And that's pretty much, it's not for people looking for the quick answers, quick entertainment, But it is what it is. So if you clicked, if you stopped and watched, thanks for being here. And I will talk to you guys later. Say bye. Say bye.